اوكي الو اوكي السلام عليكم مره ثانيه. زين بس اخر فتره بديكم شويه، بعدين محمد راح يمسك مكاني يعطيكم الاكسبيرمنتس and you can try it out yourself. بس so today we're going to discuss يعني IoT or Internet of Things, which is like mainly a buzzword ترى يعني it's not technically new, but it's a different way of looking at networks, generally speaking, or the way of communicating between devices, right? So just introduction يعني I want to talk about just the definition. So it refers to, so IoT refers to what? It refers to a network of physical objects, so something that you can hold essentially, right? That are usually embedded or have sensors, actuators, components that move, take data, transmit information, كذي. And they exchange this information with other similar devices. So you can think of toasters with like network interface cards, fridges with ثلاجات مع network interface card, anything that can talk back and forth with on the open internet, right? So usually the key components for these kind of devices is sensors and actuators. So sensors are things that collect ambient information from the environment and send it to, let's say, a control center or something that can take this information, data, and then do something with it, right? Actuators is, think of them as motors or servers that can move shafts or you can move, let's say, mechanical drives, right? Something that can be moved essentially in the physical world, right? You have connectivity, obviously. IoT doesn't work without any connectivity, so you have to transmit information using such connectivity, right? And data processing is user interface. So user interface is the way you can interact with the embedded device or the Internet of Things device, that's it. And then data preprocessing is ways of, because don't forget these devices are low power, battery powered usually. They don't have like compute intense processors that can handle a lot of information. So you have to pre-process the data, remove redundant data or noise. So examples of these are smart homes, smart thermostats like Nest and Google Nest, smart lights. I'm sure by now most houses have these. Wearables, fitness trackers, Apple Watches. Even an Apple Watch is considered an IoT device in some ways. And also vehicle cars, right? Or just connected cars, which are, you can think of them as something called VANETs or vehicle ad hoc networks. So this is a picture of just Amazon, شو يسمونه, not Siri, شو اسمه? Alexa عدل, ايه. So again, this is the idea of an IoT device, right? So IoT has different variants or derivatives, يعني, right? IoT is a very big umbrella, basically. It has many variants. One of the main variants that people are interested in is industrial IoT. So using IoT, you're using embedded devices in the control and factory floor of industrial networks. There's others as well. So similarly, there's consumer IoT, industrial IoT, infrastructure IoT, healthcare IoT. So anything, so different sectors in the workforce, let's say, you can use IoT in. And these are just some examples, right? So you can think of traffic management, smart lightings that are used now, or probably the experiment you guys will do is what? Similar to smart lighting or something that can control a light bulb or something like that, a diode. So what are the key enabling technologies that enable IoT, generally speaking? So this is, generally speaking, obviously you need connectivity. You need some sort of sensors and actuators that can move, collect information and move based on this information there's the idea of edge computing. So traditional networks usually have, let's say, internal network and external network. So edge computing is more so you're moving this device closer to the user's boundary network, let's say, right? And this is used so that you can reduce latency and reduce the bandwidth that's needed to send information. So bandwidth and latency I haven't really defined what those are. Probably, I don't know if you guys know what this is or not. But latency is more so just speed. Let's say, by the time you send the information, how long does it take to receive that information at the other end, right? At the destination node. Bandwidth is more so in how much at each interval, each time, let's say each second, how much information can I send? And information is usually measured in bytes or bits, right? So the figure here just represents a typical IoT architecture, right? So again, it's very similar to the TCP/IP model that we saw before. Alabite, there's a slight differences, right? So obviously you're going to deal with the application layer today as well, but you're going to also see the network layer, how these connections happen. And you're going to use all these sensors and actuators بعد كذي اتوقع صح؟ Okay. Okay. So some of the challenges, obviously security and privacy. Some of this data, if it's not authenticated or encrypted, can lead to issues because people can sniff this data out, can even use this data to issue commands that can cause even life-threatening situations, especially if you have like connected cars or, you know, healthcare wearables as well. So there's the idea of interoperability. So obviously not every device can communicate the same way. So can all devices communicate to each other? Not necessarily. So you need a way of having this interoperable device communication, right? Scalability, how much can you grow this sort of like, let's say, network that you have, or how can you connect them and manage them effectively, right? Similarly, data management. So, you know, nowadays in the internet, most of the bandwidth or most of the capacity of the internet is used by device-to-device communication, or DTD they call it. So humans are not the main factor anymore. It's mostly devices that actually communicate the most. So handling this much volume of information is a challenge, right? So let me just skip this. So some of the technologies that emerged from IoT and IoT, industrial IoT, is cloud computing, big data analytics, AI that you've seen, and blockchain technologies. So this is all on the precipice of IoT, or after what IoT came with, basically. So now I just want to talk about just the communication protocols. I'll just mention some of them. And probably today you'll talk maybe about Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, يعني, I'm guessing, yeah. So you've seen some of them, I'm sure, يعني. So Wi-Fi and Bluetooth is ones you've seen and you've used, I'm sure. So you have also Zigbee, right? And low power WAN. So WAN is, remember, wide area networks. Low power meaning that this network is, or this communication is done for low power devices, right? Similarly, Zigbee is for low power and low data rate communication. And it's usually used for IoT. It's specifically targeted for IoT, or embedded devices that are low power, low compute power as well, right? So there is some communication protocols that you have to be aware of as well. So there's a communication protocol called MQTT, which is kind of famous. It's a publisher-subscribe model, and it's usually used for, again, IoT and industrial IoT. Same thing with something called CoAP, or Constrained Application Protocol. So this is again used for low power communication. And there's another one called again low power wireless communication for PANs, or personal area networks, and these are even smaller than local area networks usually. So the communication layers in IoT, and it's very similar to the one you saw for TCP/IP, right? You have the physical layer, data link layer, network layer, and application layer. So it's a bit. So the transport layer is usually removed because the networks are usually small scale, right? I mean, there's a lot of different communication protocols. But I actually will skip for the most part. I just want to classify them. So this, in terms of classification, you have short range, mid range, and long range. So today, obviously, you're going to use Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, which are considered short-range communication. And actually, that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about for IoT. So it's better if you guys try it out yourself, experiment with it yourself. And nowadays, there's many applications that you can do. So I think, Mohammed, so I'm going to stop here actually, because there's no point. I think they just have to try it out themselves. أحسن. So تبي تبلش الحين وياهم أحسن؟ بلش ما عندك مشكلة؟ أوكي. خلاص. هذا كذي خلاص هو ياخذ التجربة وتجربون انتم فيه وإن شاء الله تعلمون. كذي أوكي؟ خلاص.
اوكي، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم، انا مهندس محمد الصفار. راح اعطيكم نبذه سريعه عن example of an IoT device you can make yourself، وان شاء الله راح اخليكم تطبقون وامشي وياكم. اوكي، و you will take it home، بس ESP32 we don't have enough، you can't take it home. You are gonna use mine، وبعدين they are $5 on Amazon if you want. اوكي، بسم الله نبدي. فاول شيء نفس ما قال الدكتور احمد، IoT Internet of Things. عندكم سمارت ديفايسز بالبيت، عندكم لايتس، الحين صاروا الاي سي، عندكم الجراج، وايد اشياء صار، كل شيء كونكتد، كل شيء on your phone you receive الداتا وشي. انا I don't use these things that much. I like to make my own devices. ليش؟ لان اقدر I control how everything works. اوكي، فالعادة ال IoT devices are composed of 4 things. The devices you control, for example, the lights, the garage door, and so on. Sensors, sometimes they are cameras, motion detection cameras. For the AC, you have the heat sensors, and so on. And you have the controllers. These are buttons, your phone, Wi-Fi over the internet, Alexa. Alexa is very popular with Alexa, turn on the light, okay? And logic, how you automate your home and so on. These are usually what an IoT system is composed of. فاحنا عشان نسهل الموضوع انا راح اقسمهم لجزئين، الهاردوير كنترول والسوفتوير لوجيك. And we are gonna then combine them. First of all, I'm going to walk very quickly through software I wrote. Before I start, does everyone know what an ESP32 is? I'm assuming not. Where is it? Okay, so if you've heard of Arduino, it's just like an Arduino. It's faster and it has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connection, so it's very useful and low powered. So very useful for IoT devices and creating your own. Okay, I'm not gonna assume you know anything about Arduino. لو هني the main things you want to know إن في power, so 3 volts and ground, just like a battery. It provides power and it provides ground. And there is Wi-Fi. You can connect to it through Wi-Fi. And there are these pins. What these pins can do is you can control them with programs to make them either high or low. So either they give electricity or they are grounded, okay? For most of your devices, you're going to control like this. If they receive electricity, they're going to turn on. If they don't, they're going to turn off. For example, if you want to make a smart light, using Wi-Fi, you make your program, your creativity. For example, turn this pin on. So this pin is connected to a light source, and the light source turns on, okay? What happened? Okay. Like I said, you can buy store solutions. You can buy a smart device, but I like doing things myself, and I have control over the code. I can do whatever I can think of. For example, here we are using some kind of device. Asma told me she wanted to add a button. If it was like a third party or a Chinese product, it wouldn't be easy to interface with it maybe. Here it's my code, so I can just add to the code and connect a new pin, and that's it, okay? I will go through a quick example of programming an ESP32. Inshallah, the code will be easy, not that hard. First of all, I want to connect the ESP32. So ESP32, you program it using the Arduino IDE. It's very simple. You can also code it using Python and so on. Okay, so this is the page we will be creating, okay? It's very simple. Just a password and an on button and an off button. I am targeting one of the pins. I'm gonna turn the pin on or off. That's it, okay? How do I do this with code? Even if you don't know how to code, it's gonna be, inshallah, easy. So first of all, I target the pin. So here I'm defining the pin 32 is the pin we are targeting. So if I go back to the datasheet, it's right here, okay? This is the pin I want to control. It's my choice. I can choose any pin. I chose this one because it's closer to electricity. Here, to make it connect to the network, I am putting the name of the network and the password of the network. So if I check here, it's Robotics Club KU. It has to be case sensitive and so on. Here is the IP alias. So by default, if I connect, I have to write a long IP address. But right here, if you can see, I am connecting through cars-relay-iot.local. It's easier instead of writing an IP address, okay? So this whole code right here starts a web server on the ESP32. The server is running on the ESP32 so that I can connect to it. So this entire page that you can see right here is hosted on the device itself. Here I am setting the 32 pin we defined earlier to be an output pin so I can control it. And that's pretty much about it. You can go through the code later on, but I'm pretty much starting the server, printing the IP, making an alias. Okay, so this entire code right here, if you are familiar with HTML, it's basically defining how this page looks like. So this is a header, then there's the state. If I go here, current state, the string, the variable is here. You can go through it later on, okay? But it's very simple. I'm not doing anything fancy. The password field is just I'm comparing to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if header has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn it on, and the action is on, turn it on, else turn it off, okay? So that's about it for the code itself. I want to show you, if I can switch real quickly to the ESP32. Okay. Hopefully this works. دكتور احمد معلكم مر القطع اللي عندك مالت اليو اس بي سي. خلاص ضبط. اوكي. سو ايش حول؟ اوكي مو مشكلة ان شاء الله واضح. You can see الحين أنا since I have this code I am gonna target the pin which is, where is it, 32 right here. Okay, let me connect this real quick. Okay, I just connected an LED to pin 32 and ground. Okay, if I go back to this program, like I said, the password is 12345. You can make a password, you can make a login page, you can do whatever you want. This is just a simple example. Okay, sorry, I connected it. Okay, so if you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I press the on button, the LED lights up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, off, the LED is off. This is actually running on a server right now. If I can connect through my phone and turn the LED on and off from anywhere. So it's either Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or, as Dr. Ahmed said, other protocols. Let's go back quickly to code. Okay. لا بس I'm done with the code. يعني فبasically واضح الكود ان I'm just making an HTML page, very simple, right here, creating it. If you know HTML, you will know what this is. If you don't know, ChatGPT, tell it to create an HTML page, it will create it for you, okay? So I'm just changing one variable and it's controlling the pin we defined above. So if we have the password right here, you can see this line. This is doing all the logic. If password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and action is on, turn the relay state to true, else turn it to off, okay? Sorry? What? اسم الراوتر هني اسم الانترنت مالك شنو؟ اي عشان الاي اس بي 32 يشبك على الانترنت مالك، اوكي؟ فاز سون از يشبك عليه خلاص يعني اتس اون ذا نتورك. طبعا اذا انتم برا البيت ما راح تقدرون. الراوتر نفسه اذا تبين تشبكين على التليفون الهوت سبوت تحطين اسم الهوت سبوت والباسورد، اوكي؟ فبس قاعد اقول لكم اذا انتم مو شابكين على نفس الانترنت ما راح تقدرون تتحكمون بالديفايس، لازم تسوون ستيبس ثانيه ان يو اكسبوز ات تو ذا انترنت. دكتور احمد شرح اي ثينك زيجبي يو كان دو ات. اي بس لها سكيورتي ريسكس ان اذا انتم يو اكسبوز something to the internet someone else can control it. فانا I prefer to keep everything local ويوجوالي يعني that's fine. يعني انتم ببيتكم ليش كاميرتي مثلا بالبيت حق العالم؟ مو لازم يعني الا اذا تبون تراقبون من برا يعني، اوكي؟
في موقع اونلاين تشوفونه، هذا الموقع محكي الكاميرات العشوائيه بالعالم، تقدرون تشوفون كاميرات ناس عشوائيه ما تدري كاميرتها ليش؟ لان حاطينها هناك. فدير بالكم صح لوكل احسن.
IoT devices يعتبرون من اكثر الديفايسز اللي يتهكرون بالعالم، لان usually made by Chinese companies يبيعون لكم شيء بدون security. اوكي it works you can connect to it وتشبكون على نت بيتكم بس ما تدرون انتم ايش قاعد يسوي هالبرنامج. فاذا تعرفون شيء اسمه ديدوس او بوت نتس، اغلب الاتاكس يكونون من IoT devices. لو تسوون سيرش تشوفون في ملايين الكاميرات فجاه يشبكون على سيرفر واحد فيطيحونه. هاكر جي يتحكم ملايين الكاميرات ويطيحها. ف I don't recommend. وهذا هم بعد ميزه من الميزات ان you're not using third party او يعني a company device, you're making your own and you know what the code is, okay? It's not يعني ان شاء الله I will send this code on Discord. Okay, it's 100 lines but most of it is creating the HTML page, defining stuff. ما في شيء، اوكي؟ فلا يخرعكم اذا تقرونه حتى لو انتم مو مبرمجين راح تفهمون شو السالفه. فالحين انا قاعد احط مثلا تو بوتنز اون اوف، تقدرون انتم كيفكم مثلا تحطون سلايدر حق كنترولينج ذا برايتنس اوف ذا لايت، تقدرون تشبكون الاي اس بي 32 يو كان اتاتش سنسورز تو ات. فاف السنسور is something do something else do something it's up to you, okay? or you can combine them sensor with buttons. This is the software part. For the hardware, okay, so أول شيء منو يدري شنو هالشيء؟ شايفينه من قبل بحياتكم؟ هالشيء هذا اسمه ريلي 5 فولت ريلي. شنو ميزته؟ ما ادري اذا يبين، تعرفون هذا شنو صح؟ It's a switch. Okay, so this is a mechanical switch. This switch, let's say it's an electrical switch. You can switch it with electricity, okay? وميزته الحين انتم تقولون ليش ابي I switch electricity if I can have نفس ما سوينا بال LED. ال LED is running on 5 volts. انتم مرات تبون machines or whatever, lights. The power source, how many volts? The outlet. ما تدرون؟ 240 240 صح؟ 220 ل 240 اوكي؟ ف very different okay 5 volts ال ESP32 gives compared to 240. فانتم مثلا تبون you control a garage door, you can't give enough power to the garage door through ال ESP32. ف this piece you will see it a lot. لو تروحون مثلا مشاريع التخرج بالهندسه مره وتشوفوا راح تلاقون هذا الازرق، كل مشاريع الميكانيكال مشاريع الالكتريكال حاطينه لان they can control. لو تشوفون اي فانسي ميكانيزم شيء روتيتنج ما ادري شنو، في هذا قاعد يعطونه سيجنال فيعطيه باور فيتحرك، اوكي؟ و it's not that hard to use. فشنو هني؟ الحين انتم عندكم واير، اوكي؟ كهرباء توصلونه بالكومن، اوكي؟ بعدين اكو نورمالي اوبن ونورمالي كلوز. اذا انتم مو موصلين شيء هناك، خلينا نقول او مثلا انتم موصلين شيء هناك واخترب موصلين اي اس بي 32 هناك انقطع تفجر. اوكي تبون الديفولت ستيت مال هالقطعه شنو؟ اوبن ولا كلوز؟ اوكي فاذا انت مثلا موصل كومن ونورمالي كلوزد واخترب هالجهاز راح يصير كنا هالقطعه مو موجوده، يعني كنا الواير سيده كلوزد سيركت. اوكي اما اذا كومن ونورمالي اوبن واخترب هالشيء، مثلا في شيء سكيورتي لازم يشتغل يطفي وانتم حاطين له برنامج، اخترب هالبرنامج ما تبونه يظل يشتغل، نورمالي اوبن راح يبطل السيركت. اوكي ف this is up to you. You can do normally open or normally closed. Most applications I do common to normally closed. اوكي هناك تحطون ground و 5 volts من ال ESP32. You just connected ground 5 volts و signal. Signal is how you control it. Okay ف like I said it's an electrical switch. You give it power, it turns on. You remove power, it turns off. Okay ف الحين احنا شنو سوينا؟ احنا بالاي اس بي 32 قلت لكم البن 32 صح؟ قلت لكم اتس تيرنينج اون اند اوف ال اي دي. فا عندي شيء تيرنينج اون اند اوف اوصله بالسيجنال، خلاص الحين اي كان كنترول الكتريسيتي اون اند اوف. اوكي وطبعا هني في شيء like a small black pin you can change it so that it flips مثلا off is on and on is off. Okay فمرات تبون electricity when there is no electricity it turns on, when there is electricity it turns off. Okay ف that's just يعني design details. واضح هذا ايش قاعد يسوي؟ فاهمينه؟ اوكي فالحين شنو؟ سوينا السوفت وير سايد، عندنا هذا الهاردوير سايد you connected it. بس خليني اوريكم. فاذا تمسكون اي واير اوتلت تقصونه راح يطلع لكم هال3 وايرز. الارث ايش فائدتها؟ مهم ولا لا؟ في احد يدري؟ مهم حق شنو؟
نخلص من الاكسترا.
اوكي وايد تشوفون بيوتكم اذا انتم جايبين عمال او شيء كذي مثلا، خصوصا حق المراوح تشوفونها تحترق او شيء كذي، تبطلونها تشوفون اصلا مو موصلين الارث، لان الجهاز يشتغل ما تدرون حاطينه. الارث اذا صار في فيوز، اذا صار في اكسترا تشارج يقوم يسحب لي هذا، ما يعطي كهرباء ما يعطي شيء، بس يسحب الاكسترا تشارج للارث. اوكي ف always use earth. اوكي احنا شنو بنسوي؟ احنا هذا اللايف واير اخذه اقوم اقصه بالنص، اطلع منها الصوب اوصله بالريلي. اوكي فيصير الريلي بالنص. اذا الريلي از كلوزد راح يشتغل الجهاز، اذا الريلي از اوبن ما راح يشتغل. اوكي ف very simple يعني we combined both circuits. وصح معلومه مهمه بغيت اقول لكم اياها، الريلي this thing is a mechanical device. يعني شنو؟ يوم تشتغل كهرباء راح تسمعون صوت تك، ويوم تطفي شيء ينرفع، لان في شيء نفس متل بليت قاعد يتسكر ويتبطل، فعشان كذي لا تحطونه بالشمس لان هالشيء يمكن يعلق، هالميكانيزم يعلق وما يتحرك. اوكي ف نرد على التليفون، او ما ادري اذا هني واضح. شنو سويت انا؟ خذيت اكستنشن شريته من لوازم العائله، مسكت موس قصيته بالنص، طلعت اللايف واير لونه احمر ووصلته بالكومن وبال شو اسمه اعوذ بالله نورمالي كلوزد. اوكي ومنه طالع 3 وايرز. فالحين شنو اقدر اسوي؟ طبعا هال3 وايرز انا قلت لكم you connected to ESP32، بس مثلا if you want يعني you can connect it to a battery. اعطي ال 5 فولت باتري وجراوند، وبعدين مثلا احط button just a simple button, no programming no nothing. Once you press the button it gives power to the signal, it will turn on and off. Okay so بسم الله. اوكي اول ما وصلته اشتغل. ليش اشتغل؟ مو موصل ESP32 it's normally closed ف it completed the circuit. الحين بمكان البن 32 اول شيء انا قلت لكم في 3